It started with a knock at the door. I had been sitting in my small, dimly lit apartment, alone as usual, when it came. At first, I thought it was the wind, or maybe the neighbors. It was late, way too late for visitors. But then the knock came again, louder this time, more insistent. I stood up slowly, my mind racing. Who could it be? I wasn't expecting anyone. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was nearly 2 a.m. My stomach churned, a wave of unease washing over me. I didn't know why, but I had a sinking feeling in my gut. I shuffled to the door and hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob. My thoughts swirled. Was it her? Was she back? But no, that was impossible. She had moved on. Or so I convinced myself. With a deep breath, I opened the door. Standing in front of me was a woman, her face half obscured by a dark hoodie, her expression unreadable. She was holding something in her hands, but I couldn't quite make it out. Can I help you? My voice felt thin, almost fragile, as if I was trying to brace myself for something that I already knew was coming. She didn't speak at first. Instead, she looked down at the small object she was holding. When she looked back up at me, I saw it, the recognition in her eyes. My breath caught in my throat. Nathan? She asked softly, almost hesitantly. I froze. My heart stopped for a second, and I could feel the blood drain from my face. That name, that voice. It couldn't be, but it was. Emily, I finally croaked, the words escaping my lips before I could stop them. Her face softened, and she nodded. She took a small step forward, as if unsure whether I would let her in. For a moment, I just stared at her. The woman who had once been the center of my world, the one I thought I had lost forever. My ex-wife. The woman I hadn't seen in over a year. The woman I had convinced myself had moved on, had forgotten about me. The woman who, now, was standing at my door in the dead of night. I didn't know what to say. The air between us was thick, charged with unspoken words, unfinished business. She still looked the same. Her hair was slightly longer, but everything else was exactly as I remembered it. Her eyes still held that same sadness, that same vulnerability I had seen the last time we were together. It made my chest tighten. What are you doing here? I finally managed, my voice hoarse. Why now? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she lifted the object in her hands. It was a small, worn-out notebook. The pages were yellowed with age, the cover bent and frayed. My breath hitched when I realized what it was. It was our old journal, the one we'd kept together when we first moved in. The one where we wrote our hopes, our dreams, our plans for the future. The one that had meant everything to us in those early days. Her fingers trembled slightly as she held it out to me. I found it, she said, her voice breaking. I thought you should have it. I stood there, staring at it, unable to move. It felt like time had stopped. How was it possible that after all this time, after everything that had happened, she was standing in front of me with this? With the one thing that had once been a symbol of our love? I felt my heart racing in my chest, a whirlwind of emotions flooding me. Anger, confusion, longing. I wanted to reach out and take it, to hold on to it, to hold on to her. But at the same time, I couldn't. I couldn't just pretend that everything was okay. That I was okay. You don't need to be here, I said, my voice trembling now. You left, Emily. You chose to leave. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for you to come back. She flinched, and I immediately regretted the words. They came out harsher than I intended, but I was too far gone to take them back. The pain was still there, bubbling up to the surface, and I didn't know how to stop it. She didn't cry. She didn't beg for forgiveness. Instead, she just stood there, silent. Her gaze never wavered. She was waiting, waiting for me to do something, to react, to make a decision. And then, in that silence, I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to think about before. The night she left, the night she told me it was over, I thought I had moved on. I thought I had buried the past, that I had buried her. But the truth was, I hadn't. I couldn't. The door was wide open now, both literally and figuratively. The past was standing right in front of me, and I was faced with the harsh reality that I wasn't as far along as I thought. The wounds, the hurt, the confusion, it was all still there, just waiting for the right moment to resurface. But what was she really here for? What did she want from me? I needed answers, but I wasn't sure I was ready to hear them. The knock at the door wasn't just a knock. It was a call to confront everything I had been avoiding, everything I had buried deep down in order to move forward. And as I stood there, Looking into her eyes, I couldn't help but wonder, was this the end of my story with Emily or the beginning of something else? I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, staring at her, as if expecting her to explain, to apologize, to make sense of what was happening. But the silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. Emily didn't step forward, nor did she step back. She just held the notebook in her hands, her fingers clutching it as if it was the only thing holding her together. The small dim light from my hallway flickered against the worn-out cover, casting shadows across her face. I could see her lips quiver slightly, but she didn't speak. I wasn't sure I could trust myself to speak either. I wanted to scream at her, ask her how she could just show up after everything, after the lies, after the hurt. But I didn't. Instead, I just stood there, frozen. It wasn't the reunion I had imagined. Not even close. Why now? I finally managed, my voice tight. Why come back after all this time? She blinked, as if the question had caught her off guard. Her eyes darted around the hallway, like she was trying to find the right words. She stopped, shaking her head. I don't know. I needed to see you. Needed to see me? I echoed, a bitter laugh escaping my throat. After everything you did, you think you can just show up and say that? Her face flushed, but she didn't back away. I never meant for it to end like that, Nathan, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you leave? I demanded, feeling the anger rise in my chest. You think I don't remember how you walked out? How you turned your back on me, on everything we had? I could feel the heat in my cheeks, the frustration building inside of me. The wound she had left was still fresh, even after all this time. I wanted answers. I wanted closure. But part of me didn't know if I was ready for it. Emily's eyes flickered with something, guilt, sorrow, regret, but she still didn't speak. It was like she was waiting for me to invite her in, to offer some kind of forgiveness without her having to ask for it. But I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. Not after everything. I wanted to slam the door in her face and walk away. I wanted to shut it all down, lock her out of my life for good. But something held me there, rooted to the spot. Was it the hope that maybe, just maybe, she could explain herself? Or was it something deeper, something I hadn't allowed myself to acknowledge in all these months? Before I could decide, she took a small step forward, holding the notebook out to me. I kept it, she said, her voice quivering now. I thought you might want it back. I looked at the notebook, the one that had once meant everything to us. I had forgotten about it, pushed it out of my mind like so many other things. But now it was back, standing between us like a physical reminder of the life we had shared. For a moment, I felt a pang of something. Nostalgia, maybe. But it was quickly replaced by a wave of anger. You really think I want that? I spat, my voice harsh. After everything, you think handing me that book will make everything okay? I saw the flicker of hurt in her eyes, but I didn't care. I couldn't care. Emily hesitated, her hand still outstretched. I just thought. She started, then trailed off. I just thought you should have it. I stood there, caught between two extremes. Part of me wanted to take the notebook, to hold on to that last piece of what we once had. But the other part of me, the part that had been hurt so badly, that had suffered for months, wanted to throw it back in her face. I couldn't make up my mind. So I just stood there, silent, letting the moment stretch on. The words we both needed to say were hanging in the air, but neither of us seemed ready to speak them. It was as if we were both waiting for the other to make the first move, to make the decision, to open the door to whatever this was. But I couldn't do it. Not yet. I wasn't ready to let her back into my life. Finally, I took a step back and closed the door, just enough to make the point clear. Not an aggressive slam, but a deliberate movement to set the boundary. I don't want to talk to you right now, I said, my voice quieter but firm. Not like this. I didn't wait for her to respond. The door clicked shut, and I leaned against it, the weight of the moment crashing down on me. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to move past this, past the betrayal. But one thing was clear. I couldn't let her back in so easily. Not when the wounds were still so fresh. I stood there for a long time, the silence pressing in on me from all sides. I didn't know how long I stayed like that, but eventually, I moved away from the door. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, that this encounter wasn't the end of our story. It was just the beginning of something I wasn't sure I was ready for. The next morning was quiet, unnervingly so. The usual hum of the city outside my apartment window was muffled, almost drowned out by the weight of what had happened the night before. I kept replaying the scene in my mind, the knock on the door, her face, the notebook. Every detail was etched into my brain like a scar that wouldn't fade. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had made the wrong decision by shutting her out. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was the fear of reopening old wounds, but I felt a strange emptiness after I closed that door. My mind kept telling me I did the right thing, kept telling me that I didn't owe her anything. But my heart, the part of me that still remembered how it felt when she was mine, disagreed. I tried to push the thoughts aside and focus on work, but they lingered like a shadow. Around noon, my phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. I glanced down, expecting another mundane text from a coworker or a notification from an app, but instead, it was from an unknown number. I froze. The message was simple, yet it sent a chill down my spine. Nathan, it's me again. I need to talk. Please. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just need you to listen. I'll be waiting at the park where we used to go. 5 p.m. My heart dropped. I could almost hear her voice in my head as I read the words, the way she used to sound when she was earnest, when she needed me to understand something she couldn't put into words. But now, it felt different. It felt like a plea. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I wasn't sure what I wanted, what I needed. But the thought of seeing her again, of hearing her voice, of confronting everything that had been left unsaid, was both terrifying and magnetic. The day crawled by. I tried to focus, but the clock kept ticking in the back of my mind, each second pulling me closer to 5 p.m. By the time the hour arrived, I found myself standing at the edge of the park where we used to spend hours together. It felt like a lifetime ago. I could still picture us there, laughing, talking about the future like it was something guaranteed. But now, everything had changed. I walked toward the bench where we used to sit, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know if I was ready for this. Part of me wanted to turn and leave, but my feet carried me forward. She was already there when I arrived, sitting on the same bench, just like old times. She hadn't seen me yet. And then I saw it, the way she looked. Different, but not. She was wearing the same kind of coat she used to wear, and her hair, though longer now, still fell in that same messy, untamed way that made her look so real. I took a deep breath and walked toward her, every step feeling heavier than the last. She looked up when she heard my footsteps, her eyes wide, almost apologetic. Nathan, she whispered, her voice shaky. I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there, staring at her. Part of me wanted to yell at her, to tell her how much she had hurt me. But the other part of me that still remembered who she was, just wanted to hear her side of the story. After a long silence, she finally spoke. I never meant for things to go the way they did, Emily said, her voice soft but steady. I don't expect you to understand or forgive me, but I need you to know the truth. The truth. I wasn't sure I was ready for it, but I knew I wouldn't get the answers I needed unless I listened. So, I sat down beside her, bracing myself for what was coming next. The air between us was thick with unsaid words. Emily shifted on the bench, clearly uncomfortable, but determined to speak. I watched her closely, trying to read her, to figure out if there was even a trace of the woman I once knew. I was scared, she started, her voice barely above a whisper. I was terrified of what was happening between us, Nathan. The way we were, falling apart, and I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to tell you that I wasn't the same person anymore. I stayed silent, letting her words hang in the air. I felt a strange mix of anger and something else, something softer, more painful. I had never been one to cry, but suddenly, my eyes felt heavy, as if I were fighting back the tears I never allowed myself to shed. You weren't the problem, she continued, her eyes pleading with me. It was me. I couldn't face myself, couldn't face what was happening to us. I was running from it. From everything. I could feel the tension in the pit of my stomach tightening. I wasn't sure what I was expecting her to say, but it wasn't this. I wanted her to tell me she was sorry, that she regretted leaving, that she wanted us back. But what she said next hit me harder than I was ready for. I never stopped loving you, Emily confessed, her voice breaking slightly. But I couldn't stay, not the way we were. I thought maybe if I could distance myself, I could figure it out. I thought I could find myself again, but I never did. And now, she paused, looking down at her hands, her fingers trembling. Now, I realize I made a huge mistake. Her words stung, but they were honest, raw. I could see the regret in her eyes, the truth in the way she was holding herself. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said softly, finally meeting my gaze. "But I needed you to know. I needed you to know the real reason why I left." The silence that followed her confession felt suffocating. I didn't know how to process everything she had just said. My heart was a mess of conflicting emotions. I still loved her, but I was angry. So angry. Angry that she had left, that she had chosen to walk away without even trying to fix things. And yet, here she was, telling me the truth, and all I could do was listen. "I don't know what to say," I finally admitted, my voice low. "I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I even want to." Emily nodded slowly, her face tightening with the weight of my words. "I understand," she whispered. "I don't expect you to forgive me, not right away. But I had to say it. I couldn't live with the guilt of not telling you the truth." The pain in her eyes mirrored my own, and for a brief moment, I saw the woman I had fallen in love with, the one who had always been so open, so honest with me. But that woman was gone. The woman sitting beside me now was someone who had broken my heart, who had turned her back on everything we had built together. And yet, as I looked at her, I couldn't help but wonder if there was still something left, something worth saving. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to take that leap. Not yet. I stood up abruptly, cutting the moment short. "I need time," I said, my voice harsh, even though I didn't want it to sound that way. "I need time to figure this out. I can't just go back to how things were. Not after everything." Emily's face fell, and I felt a pang of guilt, but I couldn't let myself feel sorry for her. Not yet. Not until I knew what I wanted. "I understand," she said quietly, standing up to face me. "I'll give you time. But don't shut me out completely, Nathan. I'm not asking for everything, but I'm asking for a chance to make it right." I didn't respond. I just turned and walked away, the weight of her words still hanging heavy in the air. I didn't know what was going to happen next, or if I could ever forgive her. But one thing was certain, I wasn't ready to let go of everything we had, even if it hurt. And that scared me. The next few days felt like a blur. I couldn't concentrate on anything. My thoughts kept returning to Emily, to the look in her eyes when she told me the truth. It wasn't what I expected, but it was enough to leave me torn. I had so many questions, but I was too afraid to ask them. What did it mean for us now? Could we really rebuild what was broken, or was it too late? I kept telling myself I didn't need answers, that I was fine on my own. But the truth was, I wasn't. The emptiness I felt when I came home, the silence where her laugh used to be, it all hit me harder than I wanted to admit. I missed her. I missed everything about her. But I wasn't ready to forgive her. Not yet. Every evening, I'd sit in the same chair where we used to talk for hours. The place we would share our thoughts, our fears, and our dreams. It felt foreign now. The space was too quiet, too still, as if the air itself was waiting for something to change. But every time I picked up my phone to text her, to call her, something stopped me. Then, one evening, as I was scrolling through old photos on my phone, something caught my eye. A picture of the two of us, laughing at some silly inside joke. It was taken not long before everything fell apart. The way she looked at me in that photo. I remembered feeling so sure of us, so sure of what we had. The knot in my chest tightened. I missed her. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I picked up my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. I had no idea what to say, no idea what I was even expecting from this. But I couldn't just sit here anymore, pretending that I was fine. I typed a message, hesitated, then hit send. "We need to talk." That was it. Short, simple, and direct. I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity, waiting for the reply that would change everything. When my phone buzzed a few minutes later, I almost didn't want to look. But I did. "When and where?" The response was quick, almost too quick. She was waiting, just like I had been. "I'll be at the park again. 8 p.m. I felt my heart race. I didn't know what to expect when I saw her again, but I knew I couldn't run anymore. The time had come. By 7:50 p.m., I was standing outside the park, my heart pounding as I stared at the path where Emily had been waiting for me just a few days ago. It wasn't just the unease of seeing her again. It was everything that had led up to this moment. The anger, the pain, the unanswered questions. It felt like a lifetime ago when we were happy. I couldn't even remember what it felt like to be the couple we once were. I walked into the park, the soft rustle of leaves the only sound breaking the silence. There, sitting on the same bench, was Emily. She hadn't seen me yet. Her head was down, her fingers nervously playing with the strap of her bag, as if she were trying to steady her own thoughts. The way she sat there, the familiar posture, made everything come rushing back. I wanted to turn around and walk away, to protect myself from the pain, but I couldn't. I approached slowly, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. I wasn't sure what I expected from this meeting. Maybe some kind of closure, or perhaps something more. But whatever it was, I needed to face it. When she finally looked up and saw me, the faintest trace of a smile appeared on her lips, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Nathan," she said softly, her voice almost hesitant, like she was unsure if I'd even show up. "Emily," I responded, my voice almost a whisper. I didn't know what to say to her. We both sat in silence for a moment, the tension palpable in the cool evening air. I was the first to break it. "You wanted to talk. So let's talk." My words came out sharper than I intended, but I couldn't help it. I had so many questions burning inside of me, questions that I was finally ready to ask, even if I wasn't ready for the answers. She nodded, her eyes flickering to the ground before meeting my gaze again. "I've thought about this a lot, Nathan," she said quietly. "I don't know if I can make up for what I did, but I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you." I shifted uncomfortably on the bench, my gaze drifting across the park as I fought the urge to lash out. "You didn't just hurt me, Emily. You left me. You walked away without a word, without looking back. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forget that." Her face crumpled slightly, the guilt flooding back into her expression. I didn't know how to explain. I was lost. I thought if I left, I could fix myself. I didn't know how to face you, to face what was happening between us. But that was a mistake. I should have fought for us, for what we had. I shook my head, the frustration bubbling up again. "It doesn't work like that. You don't just leave, then come back and expect everything to be okay. It's not that simple, Emily." She didn't respond right away, her hands gripping the edge of the bench as if trying to steady herself. "I know," she said, her voice barely audible. "I know it's not that simple, but I want to fix it. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I don't expect you to, but I'm asking for a chance to prove that I'm not the person I was when I left." The sincerity in her voice hit me harder than I expected. I wanted to push her away, to tell her that I was fine without her, that I had moved on. But I hadn't. Not really. The truth was, I still missed her. I missed the person I thought she was, the woman I thought I knew. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for what you did," I said, my voice breaking slightly. "But I'm not sure I can just forget you either." Emily's eyes softened, and she leaned forward slightly, as if trying to close the distance between us. "I don't expect you to forgive me now, but I want to be part of your life again, Nathan. I want to be someone you can trust, even if it takes time." There was so much more I wanted to say, so much more I needed to understand. But in that moment, I realized something. Maybe we weren't broken beyond repair. Maybe it wasn't too late for us. I wasn't ready to forgive her, not yet. But I wasn't ready to walk away either. "You've hurt me, Emily," I said, my voice steady but low. "But I don't know if I'm ready to say goodbye to us forever. I need time." She nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'll give you all the time you need, Nathan. I'll wait for you, as long as it takes." I didn't know what would happen next. Maybe we could rebuild something, or maybe this was the end. But as I sat there, staring at Emily, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. Not yet. Days passed after that meeting. I spent most of my time staring at the messages she sent, the ones I didn't respond to. Every time my phone buzzed, I felt a jolt in my chest, only to find another plea for a chance, another attempt to reach me. But each time I opened her texts, I closed them just as quickly. The pain of it all, the hurt, the confusion, was too much to process. I told myself I needed time, but deep down, I knew I was avoiding the inevitable. I was stalling because I was terrified. Terrified of opening old wounds. Terrified of being vulnerable again. But every night, as I lay in bed, the silence seemed to grow heavier. It wasn't just the absence of her, it was the absence of closure. She was still there, in the back of my mind, in every corner of my apartment, in every empty space that once felt like home. One evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my jacket and walked out the door. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay in the house. I ended up at the park, the very place where it had all started to fall apart. There she was again, sitting on that same bench, waiting for me. My heart skipped a beat. The way the light from the setting sun caught her hair made everything feel surreal, like we were trapped in a moment from the past. She looked up as I approached, and there was a softness in her eyes that made everything inside of me ache. "You came," she said, her voice barely a whisper, but there was a quiet relief in it. "I'm here," I replied, my words sounding less certain than I wanted them to. We sat together in silence for a while, both of us not knowing where to begin. Finally, I spoke. "I don't know what to do with all of this, Emily," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "I'm not sure I can ever forget what happened. What you did." Her eyes welled with tears, and she reached out as if to touch my hand but stopped, hesitant. "I don't expect you to forget. I know I can't erase the hurt, but I'm asking for a chance to show you I've changed. To show you that I'm not the person I was when I left." I wanted to believe her. Part of me still wanted to believe that the woman sitting next to me, the woman who had broken my heart, could somehow be the same one I once loved. But the truth was, I wasn't sure if I could trust her again. "I need time, Emily," I said, almost pleading with myself as much as I was with her. "I need to know that I'm not making a mistake." She nodded slowly, her voice low. "I'll wait. I won't push you, Nathan. But please, don't shut me out completely. I don't want to lose you again." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and fragile. I wasn't ready to forgive, and I wasn't sure I could ever forget. But in that moment, I realized that maybe it wasn't about going back to what we had. Maybe it was about moving forward, slowly, carefully. And so, we sat there together, neither of us sure of what the future held, but both of us unwilling to let go of what we could still be. Weeks passed since that night at the park. Time didn't exactly heal everything, but it allowed me to see things more clearly. Emily kept her word, giving me the space I needed, never pushing, but always there when I was ready to talk. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I wanted to shut myself off again, to run away from the pain. But each time I started to pull back, something inside of me stopped me. I began to realize that the anger I held onto wasn't just towards Emily. It was towards myself too, towards the version of me that had allowed everything to slip away without a fight. I had blamed her for everything, but in truth, we had both let things go. We had both made mistakes. One afternoon, I met Emily for coffee. It wasn't a big gesture, just a simple conversation between two people who were trying to find their way back to something they once had. "I've been thinking," she said, her fingers gently tracing the rim of her cup. "I'm not asking you to forget what happened. I'm not asking for everything to be the same again. But I want to try. I want to build something better. Together." I could see it in her eyes, genuine, sincere. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking for reasons to doubt her. I was listening to her, hearing her, and more importantly, I was letting myself believe again. "I'm scared," I admitted, my voice quieter than usual. "I'm scared of getting hurt again. But I'm willing to try. I can't promise that everything will be perfect, but I'm willing to work through it. With you." Her face softened, and she reached out, her hand gently touching mine. "That's all I'm asking for. A chance. To show you that I can be the person you need me to be." And in that moment, I realized something. Love wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about never making mistakes. It was about the willingness to face those mistakes, to work through the mess, and to find a way to move forward, together. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be moments of doubt, moments when the past would threaten to pull us under. But I knew one thing for sure. We were both willing to fight for what we had. And that was enough. As I walked with Emily that day, her hand in mine, I felt a weight lift from my chest. We weren't the same people we were before. We were different now. But maybe that was okay. Because sometimes, the most beautiful things come from the scars, the cracks, the imperfections. And maybe, just maybe, we could find something new, something real, out of everything we had been through. Together.